Hello folks, I'm Alex, this is Alex Unabridged, and this is my plan for reading some big old books in 2024. So welcome back to the channel if that is the case. Thank you very much for tuning in to this little intro video today for the first of 3 projects that I have planned for next year. So today I'll be going through the plan for how I get back to reading some longer books. And this is the project that I'm calling the Quarterly Chonk. And this is one that I'm going to need your input on as well, so let's get cracking. So first, a little bit of background then. I like big books. I used to read a ton of big books before starting BookTube. In fact, probably 90% of my reading was made up of chonkers. I didn't read many books each year, but what I did read tended to be on the longer side. And certainly once I got into audiobooks in sort of around 2020, for my 1 credit per month, I used to, actively search out the longest books, because it's more bang for your buck to start with, but also it's just, I like getting immersed over a long period of time with a book. I like being able to get to know kind of the author's style quite well, over a huge number of pages. I like following great complex characters and seeing how they develop over the course of the story. And I love the really expansive and detailed world building that can kind of unfold over that amount of space on the pages. And as I work my way through the story. But since starting the channel, I haven't read any big books, what I'd term big books. And I miss it. I've kind of had so much other stuff that I've wanted to fit in each month for BookTube that I've put all of the big stuff to one side and not touched it. I've got an absolute ton of stuff on my wish list that I want to get to, but I don't want to overface myself by trying to get through one massive book in a month. I still want to be able to read plenty of books. That's one thing I've loved about BookTube in the last year, is that I've read so many different books. And I want to maintain that as well. Plus, a fair few of these chonkers kind of scare me a little bit. I'm quite daunted by them. Not just in terms of their length. Some of them look like they might be quite difficult for me, for my little brain. Be that in terms of their language, because they are older. There might be some classics on there. Or because of the ideas that they might be looking at, that the ideas that they might have, whether it's philosophy, anything like that, that I might just I worry that I might struggle with. I may not, but that's my worry. So I kind of put them off. But then I thought, well, I don't have to read it in a month. So what if I gave myself 3 months to read it? That feels like so much more doable. So I can break the reading up into small chunks and read a few pages every day. And then, that gives me time to think about it, read a few pages, process what's in them, etc. Then I shouldn't get too overfaced with that. So what are the rules of engagement then for the Quarterly Chonk? The definition of chonk, first and foremost, in terms of its size, its length. For the purposes of this project, it's a book that is 800 pages or more. I would consider something that's over 600 pages kind of getting towards the chonk, most definitely. But there's quite a lot of books on my list that are certainly 800, 900 and upwards. And I want to tackle some of those first. So for the purposes of this project, to start with, it's going to be 800 pages plus. The page count is based on the edition that I have. because I know obviously with some books there are introductions in, some not in others, etc. Editions vary because of type size, all that kind of stuff, book format, but the page count will be based on the edition that I have. Omnibuses and story collections don't count unless the omnibus is essentially different parts of the same story. So for examples, this big old chonker of 5 great novels by Philip K. Dick does not count, even though it is, you know, long. It's, you know, getting up for like 900 pages. It's 5 different books within here, so that doesn't count. Similarly, another one that I have, the Necronomicon, doesn't count because it's all different stories. It's essentially short stories, novellas. I don't know whether there are any novels in here, but it's not. Yes, it's all part of the same mythos, but it's short stories, and I know I can dip out of that easily when I want to read that. So that doesn't count either. But for instance, one that I do have on the list that you will see pop up in your options shortly is Gormenghast, the complete illustrated trilogy. That counts because although it's all in one book, it is, yes, it's 3 separate books, if you like. It's 3 separate parts of the same story of the trilogy, so that does count. And the only other rule is for the first quarter at least, the book options will have to come from my owned books, so that I'm adhering to the rules for my Read What You Own challenge. So where do you come in then, gentle viewers? Well, basically I can't decide. I can't decide which one to pick first. I have choice paralysis, and also, you know, they all daunt me in some way, shape or form. Length, content, etc. So I'm going to put it to a vote. You will find a poll on the community tab on my channel page, or probably if you're scrolling through your subscriptions on your phone, you'll probably see it pop up there. You can cast your vote for which book you would like to see me read first. You are also welcome to drop your choice in the comments below if you don't want to use the poll, but please do one or the other and not both, just so that I can keep track of the numbers easily. So yeah, so one of those options is where you can have your say. So what are the choices for quarter one's chonk then? First up, we've got the one I've just mentioned. We've got the illustrated Gormenghast trilogy by Mervyn Peake, which is 960 pages. This is fantasy, I believe. I will read you the blurb for each of these so that you can make an informed decision in case you don't know any of these options. So the blurb for this one then. Titus is expected to rule this extraordinary kingdom and his eccentric and wayward subjects. But with the arrival of an ambitious kitchen boy, Steerpike, the established order is thrown into disarray. Over the course of these 3 novels, Titus Grown, Gormenghast, and Titus Alone, Titus must contend with a kingdom about to implode beneath the weight of centuries of intrigue, treachery, manipulation, and murder. Intoxicating, rich, and unique, the Gormenghast trilogy is a tour de force that ranks as one of the 20th century's most remarkable feats of imaginative writing. This is a special edition, published for the centenary of Mervyn Peake's birth, and is accompanied by over 100 of Peake's dazzling drawings. So that's the first one. This one daunts me a lot. I've had this on my wish list of something that I think, oh, I really want to try that for probably years now. I bought it recently. This will be an ebook because it was in a daily deal. Dastardly daily deals. Yeah, I've had it for a little while, but it really daunts me. I think I might struggle with the language on this, and I think potentially it's quite dense in terms of, you know, the amount of stuff that's packed into it and sort of the imagination, the way that it's, you know, kind of the world building, if you like. But it does sound really, it intrigues me a lot, that one. So that is your first option. Next up then, another ebook that was a daily deal, and that is The Terror by Dan Simmons, at 944 pages. And this is kind of historical fiction / horror. The blurb for this then is, the most advanced scientific enterprise ever mounted, Sir John Franklin's 1845 expedition in search of the fabled Northwest Passage had every expectation of triumph. But for almost 2 years, his ships, the HMS Terror and Erebus, have been trapped in the Arctic ice. Supplies of fuel and food are running low. Scurvy, starvation, and even madness begin to take their toll. And yet the real threat isn't from the constantly shifting alien landscape, the flesh-numbing temperatures, or being crushed by the unyielding frozen ocean. No, the real threat is far more terrifying. There is something out there in the frigid darkness. It stalks the ships and snatches men. It is a nameless thing. At once, nowhere and everywhere, this terror has become the expedition's nemesis. So yeah, the fact that, you know, it's horror in the Arctic was what attracted me to this. But again, I don't read much historical stuff, even within horror. Again, it's long. I think, you know, from what I hear of Dan Simmons' writing, it's quite slow paced, which often sort of scares me with things a little bit, because I do tend to, my attention is kept much more so if it's fast, something's fast. But yeah, it sounds potentially like it could be up my street, certainly in terms of the horror. And yeah, this one has been on my list for quite a long time in terms of wanting to read it, and I bought it this year, 2023. So yes, that is your second choice. And then finally, one that's a little bit of a strange one for me in terms of a classic. But I hear good reports of this, so it went on the list a while ago. My sister raves about it, but then she does like her classics. And that is Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackeray, at 816 pages. I do have a physical copy of this, just not here, just not around me. So this would be a physical book. So the blurb for this, in case you don't know it, is: no one is better equipped in the struggle for wealth and worldly success than the alluring and ruthless Becky Sharp, who defies her impoverished background to clamber up this class ladder. Her sentimental companion, Amelia, however, longs only for caddish soldier George. As the two heroines make their way through the tawdry glamour of Regency society, battles, military and domestic, are fought, fortunes are made and lost. The one steadfast and honourable figure in this corrupt world is Dobbin, with his devotion to Amelia, bringing pathos and depth to Thackeray's gloriously satirical epic of love and social adventure. This one interests me a lot because of the Regency element. I love Regency period in terms of the history. And, you know, the mention of satire always, you know, piques my interest. As I say, I've heard really good things about this, that make me think that if I could just get into it and get into the language, I potentially could really enjoy this. But again, I'm a little scared of it. This is a language barrier again, in terms of I don't necessarily find stuff written of this period and classics generally easy to read. So those are your choices for the first quarterly chonk that I will be reading then. You've got Gormenghast, you've got The Terror, and you've got Vanity Fair. So cast your votes in the poll, or in the comments. The book with the most votes will obviously be the one that I read in January, February, March. The book with the second most votes will go back into the options for quarter two, where it will be joined by two new options in a new poll towards the end of March. In the event of a tie, I will flip a coin to decide which book I read first. So yeah, the poll is already up and will remain active until next Wednesday. So that is the 20th of December. And then I will tally the results and it will pop in to my TBR, which is a week today. My first TBR for 2024. So yes, so head on over and have your say in what my first mission will be for the Quarterly Chonk. So right, that's it for now then. Thank you very much for watching, folks. And thanks in advance for voting. If you enjoyed this video, please do consider giving me a like and subscribing for more content coming very soon. But from me, for now, that's ta-ra.